Welcome to Money Matters. My name is Malcolm Sima. It's a tough season for business now, clearly marked by the rising commercial bank lending rates and a near free fall of the Ugandan shilling against the dollar. But here are other items coming up here on Money Matters: the impact of settling business bills in dollars and tips on how to attract the right human resource. It has so far been a bumpy year for business. The rise in interest rates and shilling depreciation, which began early this year and coming at the back of low demand, which afflicted very many businesses in 2014. So today we pick the mind of one of the entrepreneurs at the helm of local business and playing in the import space.
Well, Mr. Semwemba, it's very nice to have you on the show. Money Matters, you're most welcome.
Thank you.
Very good. Now, I know you are one of the players in Uganda's economy and at the level of Chief Executive Officer of one of the local companies.
Right.
Tell me, what's your impression of the market in Uganda at the moment? Or the economy, so to speak?
Well, talking about the Ugandan economy, or the market as you called it, I would say that from January this year, it's been pretty slow. And the reasons have been the same for quite some time. Low exports, you know the South Sudan story. We can't do as much business as we used to do before. Once you have low exports, it becomes a challenge to anybody to have a strong economy or to have effective demand. And that has gone a long way in slowing business. It's not just exports to South Sudan that affected us. There is the oil issue, which most of us counted on when we were starting the year. We were like, at a point, we're going to have a lot of an influx of international companies coming in here to do logistics, infrastructure, production, name it. And after we hit a snag on the that came from the prices on the world market, all that was stopped. Yeah, and when that happened, we've had to learn to be conservative. We have had to cut back on our budgets, both in terms of expectation of revenue, as well as expenditure in the operations of the business.
I hear you, because I was going to ask you how the current circumstances prevailing within the market have impacted, you know, the car business or car industry. And here I'm asking you as a keen market observer, being one of the players in the car business in Uganda.
Well, the car business, you know, we're in the market to keep people on the road. And you keep people on the road that are in business. For as long as people are not in business, they will require less of logistics and moving from point A to point B. So we've not had the sales that we've expected to have this year because of the factors I've just talked to you about. And this cuts across the entire automotive industry. We expected to supply cars to several big multinationals like Sinok, like Total, Talo. All these guys have rolled their bags and stepped aside until situation improves.
Yes. Now, these days, of course, it's hard to complete a business discussion without talking about the shilling losing value against the dollar. And it has hit record lows as we speak now. Now, explain to our viewers, for starters, what does this mean to your business, and then to them out there?
Put in just very few words, everybody does business tagged to the dollar. We tag all our pricing, our importation costings and everything, we tag everything to the dollar. And with this inflation skyrocketing by the day, it means that the ordinary person who does not transact in dollars but has to buy goods that are tagged to the dollar will find it very difficult to buy. And that reduces business on our side. it becomes even more challenging when you look at people that wake up every single day to go try to earn a living and live a comfortable life, probably buy a house and buy the second most expensive thing, a car, and they earn in shillings and they spend in shillings. It becomes a nightmare for them to have a proper life.
No, I hear you. But moving on, let's look at, again, going back to the issue of the car market as it is at the moment.
Yes.
Ugandans tend to prefer or go for these second-hand cars as they've been baptized locally. Help us understand, what advantages do new cars present over and above the old cars?
Oh, quite a number. Let's look at the upper reconditioned customer, because we cannot address everybody here. But looking at a gentleman or a lady that would like to buy a car that's about 5 years old, at any day, the smartest decision to take is to buy a brand new car. Because at the end of the day, you'll be spending about the same amount of money buying a reconditioned car. And when you buy a reconditioned car, by all means, it will not be to the perfect condition that you will be looking for. So, number one thing, I need to go to my mechanic to check if this car is perfect. So, most likely you're going to replace the brakes, you replace the tires, sometimes the suspension, a lot of cost. And remember, the car is supposed to facilitate you do your business. Your business is not to drive a car, but your business with a car is to get from A to B comfortably with less or no stress at all. There is a seriously big problem about the environmental degradation caused by these cars that come from wherever they come from for different reasons, because if they were good, they would have been kept where they are.
Which actually, talking about the environment, it brings me to the issue of policy. On one side, tax, but then also tax, according to the government narrative, given to protect the environment. How do you look at that policy? Is it addressing the kind of concerns that you players in the car industry are actually looking at? I mean, put in another way, is it a fair tax regime?
Well, fairness, I don't know about fairness, but I'll tell you something. It's a step in the right direction. Looking at the East African community to which we subscribe, in Kenya, it's a total ban on any car that's 10 years and above. You just cannot import a car that's 10 years and above. And here it's going to even reduce to probably 6 or 7 years. In Tanzania, it's 10 years as well. Even though Uganda Revenue Authority has a standard value guideline for these cars. And the gentleman that brings in a 12-year-old car will end up paying about 101% in tax. Based on the values at which these cars come from, wherever they come from, they will still be more affordable. And people will still want to go for them. And when that happens, that means you're not exactly controlling the environment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Semwemba. It's been nice talking to you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boji.
Please.
Let us now get back to the dollar-shilling situation. It's been yet another week of intense pressure for business owners as the shilling tumbled even further in its exchange to the dollar. The local currency depreciated by a margin of 120 shillings this week alone, trading at 3,600 to the dollar, sending business owners into panic. Now, shop owners downtown who pay their rent in dollar-rated denominations closed shop as a result of protesting the erratic trend of the local currency.
Unless the shilling secures reasonable gains in its value against the strong dollar, the performance of the economy will dip in the remaining half of the year.
The only way is to find, in the short run, a way of managing the dollar such that it does not go beyond control. We cannot move freely anymore as leaders of Kasita because people are demanding us for solutions. Mr. Sechito, we are falling out of business. And this is true. When you add the cost, the freight, the revenue, the rent, all paid in dollars, then look at the current exchange rate. There is nobody that can operate business.
The frightening and critical depreciation of the local currency this week alone by over 200 shillings is being described as unprecedented.
And then there's panic, doubling the outflows. Look at the major players in this economy, MTN, ShopRite and others. These guys transfer all the proceeds overnight in dollars with no control at all, total liberalization. So these things are tearing the shilling apart. I can't guess where we are going to end up. All of us, including myself, are panicking. I too buy dollars now whenever I can.
Now downtown, a cross-section of city traders closed shop, insisting that dramatic adjustments in their rental expenses was clearly turning out to be the final blow.
You can go and invest in America. For us, we are Ugandans, and the shilling is our legal tender. Why should we suffer? But let us invest to be able to.
These concerns are being re-emphasized at a time when the fall of the shilling has hit 3,600 against the dollar, a depreciation of close to 18% over the past 6 months.
The market sentiment arising out of the tone from the central bank that clearly the central bank is surrendering. They're not going to be out there to defend this shilling, which is driven by factors that are beyond their control. So that also makes people lose confidence in the currency. So really, those are the factors that have underpinned this rapid movement that we have seen in the space of the last 4 days.
And with key sectors such as insurance, where over 80% of players remain foreign firms, fears of further massive repatriation of over 400 billion shillings is appearing real.
There are many companies which really, on a monthly basis, take out huge sums of dollars. What we are doing for insurance companies is for them to reinvest their gains within the industry. And that's why you realize that there is a 21% growth in the asset base, because they are reinvesting whatever they are getting, much of what they are getting within the country.
In spite of a record $200 million or close to 600 billion shillings in intervention stimuli by the central bank over the last 6 months, the shilling has remained weak.
Now, the depreciation of the Ghana shilling against the dollar has not only led to the rise in commodity prices, but also rental fees normally charged in dollars. And this state of affairs has left tenants of commercial buildings worried, and observers thinking that this could even worsen the situation further. In this segment of Insight, we try to examine the practice of dollar-denominated billing in Uganda.
Uganda is a shilling-based economy, and yet the strengthening of the US dollar is sending shockwaves across some sections of the business community. Why is this so?
We pay our suppliers mainly in US dollars and Kenya shillings, sometimes in the pounds as well. And the high volatility of the dollar against the Uganda shilling affects our net return on investment. It causes us sometimes exchange losses, because we are not going to be seen changing prices every other day in order to counter the high volatility.
But there are players who price in US dollars to shillings clientele For some, it's about the dynamics of free market economy.
What is the logic of overcharging a tenant at the end of the day? This tenant fails to pay or their businesses collapse. And the more businesses collapse, we are going to see actually more spaces, more empty spaces within these buildings.
Even then, the fact that landlords source capital at higher rates may further threaten calls for fair pricing.
Since there is no restriction in how they source this capital for development, that means there will not be any restriction, or there will be no fairness also in how they charge their tenants.
So how does one survive in such an environment?
You might have to diversify how you consume. In other words, consume goods and services from different markets and of a different quality also. You may not have to stick to where you have been. You may actually have to shift to either a lower market, a lower level, or more.
And how is this likely to impact on businesses and consumers going forward?
That these tenants, they are also going to transform either to charge the consumers of their products and the services, either the dollar equivalency of that day, or that means they will follow the exchange rate. If a dollar is 3,500, it's what they will also charge, what is the equivalence of that in terms of their goods and services. This is where it is going to end.
Attracting and keeping the right human resource, even for small businesses, is important for growth and competitiveness. In Your Money this week, we explore on how SMEs can and why they should keep and retain their staff.
You have your small company and you have reached the level of employing others. Finding the right people and keeping them is important. The almost personal relationship between the business owner and the worker is very important.
In the small company, it's more relational. I need to deal with you as an individual. A lot of it is not written, but they must build that trust that if I tell you work for me, I will pay you 20,000, I actually pay you the 20,000 at the end of the month.
Flexibility might be important to harness the talent in this usually semi-formal setup of a small business.
So I need to be allowed that I've come in, I can try something and tolerate a bit of failure. Tolerate a bit of failure. For the multinationals, maybe they don't have that degree of freedom to try out and fail because the impact will be disastrous. For the small ones, they need to give that room.
Ultimately, there is a large supply of skilled human resource around. But how do you find who is right for you as a small business?
He passed through Budo, Kisubi, or name whatever school. They did nothing, went to Makerere. They were not a member of Old Boys or Old Girls Association. They were purely bookworms. You have to worry about that individual. For your small-scale business, those individuals will not add value. Because for you, you must have one or two people who are creative, who are willing to try out something new, who are willing to challenge the status quo. And that trait, you pick it from this student's life. Even if they have never worked, you'll see it.
A look now at how the markets are faring. That's all we had for you on NTV Money Matters this week. My name is Malcolm Sime, but do get back to us. Send us a text on 6565. Or look for NTV Money Matters on Facebook and leave your comments and views. But for now, from me and the team, it's goodbyes.